So hi, this is Alex from Kyero.com, and today I'm meeting Harald from Riviera Keys. So today we're going to be talking about your company. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, tell us about yourself.
So I'm a Swedish national. I came to France over 30 years ago to study in Paris, and I took an MBA in the region outside of Paris. I've been here over 30 years and 25 years on the Riviera. So I raised a family. I have two grown-up kids, and we still live in the same location in the south of France.
How about your company? So you've got
Yeah. So we founded together with my wife. We founded Riviera Keys 20 years ago. So actually, we're celebrating next year. To start with, we worked mostly with Scandinavian clients, first Swedish, then other Scandinavian, and now we work with all nationalities from all over the world.
So you've also got French clients.
Yeah, we have French clients, but basically our business idea is to work with non-residents, people coming from outside of the region. Non-residents, secondary homes can also be people from Paris. So we now have 4 offices, a website in 5 languages. We speak 12 languages, all in all, in the company. 35 people in the office and hundreds of clients from different parts of the world. The offices are in Nice, Antibes, Cannes, and in Saint Raphael. So we cover basically the region called the French Riviera.
And I've noticed as well that you do properties on plan. Is this a big thing for you?
Yeah, we have a big city where we do a lot what you call in French VFA, so it's new builds. So we have a department selling new builds. We have maybe 30 different developers we work with. So we select properties that could fit to our international clients.
And you don't have, in terms of logistics, do you have any issues sort of explaining to clients that the delivery date is in, for example, a year or 24 months?
Yeah, we have several specialists in our company who only work with new builds. Okay. One of them has been being a developer himself, so we know most about how to buy on plans, and also about potential delays, choosing furniture, choosing a kitchen, and all these kind of things. So we're very familiar with that, and it's quite appreciated among international clients who are not in a hurry to move here, and they see long term, so they don't worry about buying something, and they can move in 2 years on.
So there's no issue, yeah. Okay, there's no issue about waiting for the property.
No, we just have to explain the whole situation. Yeah. Well, we have a big advantage in France compared to maybe some other countries is that buildings will always be finished because there are guarantees, there are state guarantees so there are no empty lots not being finished. Sometimes, and I must admit, quite often there are some delays because it could be problems with materials or subcontractors. So there are often delays, maybe a month or 2, but the projects are always finished. It's a big security in France, buying on plan.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, especially a couple month delays on delivering a property on plan is, it's realistic, and especially what we've had with problems sourcing materials costing more.
Yes.
And that's the nice.
Well, the problem now with the new builds is that prices have gone up a lot. Prices are going up to new materials and labor costs and everything. So it's quite a complicated situation to build. But the problem for the builders is that the margins are squeezed because buyers are not paying more just because there is inflation. So and land is very expensive as well, especially in our region.
Yeah, especially, yeah, and I can imagine that if someone signed a property 2 years ago, the developer can't say, "Hi, by the way, there's another 30,000 euros."
No, well, that's maybe one of the securities also when you buy on plan. It's a fixed price.
Yeah.
So you pay according to plan, but the prices don't increase.
I see. And your clients that buy these properties, would you say they're mostly people that are buying second home properties or retiring?
I think that in France in general, some people buy to live. A lot of people buy as investors to rent, to rent to find tenants later. In our case, most of them buy secondary homes, so they're not in a hurry. Maybe they have already a secondary home here, or they're waiting to retire, so they buy a retirement home. And most of them are not in a hurry. That's an advantage.
If I called you up, maybe later on when I've got a bit of money saved up, if I bought a property on plan that you're selling, do you assist in maybe finding, or do you do it yourself in terms of renting the property out? Do you do rentals at all? I mean, or sort of.
Well, we can certainly assist in what we call seasonal rentals.
Yeah.
And then we have partners, of course, who do this job. People would like to rent.
And so you said your clients, you said they were Scandinavian. Do you think you've got like a majority, like a majority of a nationality in particular, or you really have like Scandinavians which sort of represent maybe 30%, and then maybe you've got British or.
Okay. Well, I must admit that it's that we are very pragmatic, a little bit opportunistic. So it depends on. Every year is different, and every year is different because we work with people who have made some money in their home country, and so they buy for pleasure. Okay. And people making money in their home country, it varies. Some countries make people are wealthy and they want to spend their money, and then next year there's economic situation in their country is not so good, so they don't buy. So that's why we're opportunistic. So we work with people in the countries where they made some money and then they spend them in France.
Okay, and it leads me to my next question. What would you say is your biggest challenge, for Riviera Keys this year and the coming years coming? What would you say is a bit of a challenge at the moment, and you sort of have to overcome?
Well, we do, of course, a lot of marketing, international marketing. We belong to an association called Leading Real Estate Companies of the World, and their branch luxury portfolio. So we spend a lot of time doing marketing through this network. The network is international with 500 different companies all over the world. So the challenge is to do marketing of properties through these companies, and they also send us clients. I'd say there are several challenges, of course. One is technological. Our industry is fairly low intense technology organization. There's a lot of room for improvements in organization, in sales, internally and externally. But there are new technologies coming up. So that's very important. And basic challenge concerning clients is, of course, to educate clients about market conditions. What do you get for the money, and what is the real price? And when there's a change in market conditions, for instance, during COVID, there were a lot of sales. Nobody expected that, but there were a lot of sales. Well, in France and overall, there were more than 1.1 million transactions for 2 years in a row.
Yeah, just after lockdown.
2 years in a row, transactions, over 1 million. Now suddenly, this year, number of sales have gone down. We have maybe 900 to 950,000 on the yearly basis, 15% down. But what you have to understand is that realize is that on a 20-year average basis, number of transactions in France have been 750, 800, 850,000 sales. So we're still well above the average. So there's no room for panic. But there's a lot of transactions. So we try to tell buyers and sellers this. There's a lot of food sellers. We tell them There's a lot of buyers out there. Don't worry. We just have to adapt to market conditions. So one of the challenges in the market conditions is that prices are changing, but it's very simplistic to say that prices in France have gone up or down, or they're sideways or whatever. Each particular niche market has its own trends. Some parts of France market prices go up, some go down. So you need to be a specialist in your own region and give advice to the buyers about the right market conditions.
What would you say, what would you say are the sort of opportunities, exactly in your market? I mean, like you were almost getting to it, so it'd be interesting to know.
You mean from a buyer point of view?
For you, for your agency, obviously, what are the opportunities for buyers? I mean,
well, from an agency point of view, I think there's, as I mentioned, a lot of room for improvement. Giving more market data and explain to people with using new technologies, for instance, virtual visits, videos, and all kinds of technologies to explain in a better way to buyers what they get for the money, and also help them search the right properties. Most people, they don't know to start with exactly what they want. So with new technologies, you can help them do that. That's the main challenge, to improve the process in the purchasing process. And concerning sellers, it's sellers need to understand market conditions in that specific market. Don't read so much about general market conditions in the world or in France, but you have to understand a specific area where you live.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, what you said a bit earlier, I mean, I agree 100% with you. I think we've had 2021, 2022 that were really unusual years. Sort of the transactions went up a lot, and I think what we have today is more of a normal market. We're sort of back to a sort of a normal stabilized market.
Yes, yeah. Well, the difficulties are of two types of people. The first-time buyers might have difficulties in getting a loan because interest rates have gone up a lot, as you know. So that's a difficult situation for the first-time buyers. The other difficulty is for people who have maybe bought 2-3 years ago with a very low interest rate, and now they want to switch to another property, and they suddenly find that the loans are much more expensive. So that's tough for them. So it's much easier, and that's our market niche. You can say we'll work it out with cash buyers, so they don't have that situation.
I think what you said, you're right. I mean, it's because people that bought properties 3 years ago had really low rates that were around 1%, that today they're thinking twice before selling their property, because they're going to have to get a loan again, and they're probably going to go to 5% on
the price of the money is 3 times higher. Yeah. So that's so they get less property for the money, I can say. But that's a tough situation all over the world. It's not only for our market, of course.
All of Europe, yeah. It was great having a chat with you. I think you've covered so many good points. Thank you for your time. I think you gave us a lot of valuable information. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.